We want to welcome everybody to what is going to be a phenomenal press event. You know, we know because of the situation that we're in, this is the norm, Zoom calls, and you know, this is what we do now. So hopefully you'll get your questions answered. We have some great people on. But basically, you know, let's just look at basically a little promo of what's going to happen with Urban One Honors. Let's check it out.
This is the year of the woman. We are here. We are capable.
My optimism for our future has never been greater than now.
Black women are making a difference, making history, and changing the world.
So there we go, May 16th at 9 p.m. You got to check it out. It'll be simulcast for the first time on our sister network, Clio TV. So, you know, Urban One Honors is going to be phenomenal. And, you know, as we transition to phenomenal, I mean, what more can I say other than the media mogul is joining us? The reason that I came to Radio One back in 1995 was I saw her make a speech and I said, I don't know what I got to do to go and be a part of what she's doing. But Miss Cathy Hughes, the media pioneer, the legend, the most phenomenal boss I've ever had, the only African-American boss I've ever had in history, is able to be on this call and talk about, you know, Urban One Honors. Ms. Hughes, how are you today?
Thank you, Ryan, so much. You know, it's interesting because, you know, you all just made my birthday last week. So happy. But as you age, the introductions get longer and longer and longer. But I'm honored to be the only African-American boss you've ever had. But I hope I'm also the last. Okay. I hope that you and I are together till death do us part. All right. I want to thank all the members of the media. This is such an incredible turnout. You know, I hear complaints frequently from people who are on Zoom calls all day long that their tailbone gets tired and they really, you know, miss seeing folks in person. But I have to say, on the positive side of the Zoom call, this is the largest press conference we've ever had. So I thank you all most sincerely for being with us today. It's time for women to be recognized for the contribution that we have made. And I come from a legacy of women leading the change. I found out last year, and for Black History Month, I Won Digital did a project with Ancestry.com, and I found out that my great-great-great-grandmother was first lieutenant to Harriet Tubman, and actually was the architect designing the homes to accommodate the Underground Railroad, and that she and her 11 children were born into slavery, and she got them all out of slavery and then went back and purchased the freedom of two other slaves who had married two of her daughters. Just found that out, had no idea. And in the future, hopefully to do something in a relationship. For those of you who like to Google everything, her name is Charlotta Piles. And I'm so proud to be able to bring it forward to my mother, who is going to be honored as part of the Urban One Honors for 2021. I lost my mother to COVID in July. And my mother was just short of 97 years old. And certainly anytime you lose your mother, it is very, very traumatic for you. But I think that the longer that God blesses you with having your mother in your life, the more difficult it is to adjust to life without your mother. And so my mother is part of the lineup that our staff will be sharing with you. But I just want to start off by saying to Kim Burse that she brought my mother back alive for me. Grieving is a terrible process for those of you who have been through it, not just with your mother, but with other loved ones. And the first time that I experienced joy as it related to my mother no longer being with me was when I heard what Kim Burse did with the music. Our music director did such a fabulous job and has mixed the music of the International Sweethearts of Rhythm, the orchestra, although they're called a band, 18 pieces, kind of hard to describe as a band, but an 18-piece orchestra from the 1930s and 40s. And what Kim did with their music actually relieved my grief. And I thank you so much for being the ultimate in music directors that I have ever had the pleasure of working with. The lineup is going to be spectacular. And then after we tell you about Urban One Honors, we're going to tell you about something very special that we've decided to do. We have moved the air date of a program that's going to air in the future, but we decided that we wanted it to be the opening for Urban One Honors, the show before, and we'll tell you about that. And when we tell you, I think it's going to really blow you away. So without further ado, once again, I thank each of you. I thank God for you, and I'm going to turn it back over to my very favorite Atlanta air personality, Mr. Ryan Cameron.
Ms. H, before you go, I have to ask you, what is the significance of this year's Urban One Honors? You talked about the music and how it touched you, but
the significance is it's women only. All of our honorees are women this year. All of our honorees. Now, we didn't leave the brothers on the curb. We have brothers have your say. So we have some very distinguished brothers that are going to have some comments that relate to the areas and the award recipients, but more importantly, to the areas that our honorees this year. Women have been doing so many incredible things. A little peep at what's going to be revealed. We have Stacey Abrams. What this sister did in Atlanta, Georgia, oh my God, okay? She changed. She drove Donald Trump. Everybody talked about him. Nobody got to him. Stacey Abrams got to him, all right? That man could not sleep at night when Stacey finished with him. Women have done, sisters have done such incredible things. That's the reason I opened up talking about my great-great-grandmother that I didn't even know that I was the granddaughter of. Black women have been leading the change for so long, and we only get blurps, quite frankly. It's worse for our brothers. And so I said, this year, let's just concentrate on sisters, and who knows, maybe next year we'll decide to do brothers only, but this year it's women only because of the significance of the progress that we have made as a direct result of determination on the behalf of Black women.
Wow. Well, I think that tees it up perfectly. And before we start the Q&A, we want to have a brief, like a little preview of our She Rose promo. So check out the screen, guys.
Black women are fierce, brilliant, courageous, dope.
Black women are making a difference, making history, and changing the world.
I think about all of the Black women who have showed up to fight for justice.
We are starting to finally accept all the skills and talents a woman can bring to the table.
Urban One, thank you. This one is so special.
So there you see it. We're going to have quite a phenomenal show. We're going to open it up to, some of our distinguished people who helped put this thing together. It is going to be, as I see Concert Daily said, abso-freaking-lutely amazing. That's what it's going to be. Abso-freaking-lutely amazing. So Erica, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Ryan?
Man, it's the best day of my life. Best day.
Wow.
I have no complaints. Because you're such a big part of this, as you watch the promos and you see these things, how are you feeling? Are you excited for the airing?
I'm so excited. Just being a part, getting the call to asking me to be a part was amazing. But to be there and to experience the music and to learn so much about so many women, like Miss Hughes was saying, it is true that there's so many of us that have done amazing things that we never hear of. They pick a handful and that's it. So to highlight so many amazing African American women is amazing for me to be a part of, to experience, to learn. And then to be able to watch it with my daughters and share the knowledge with them as well.
Wow. So when you say share the knowledge, like, can you expound on that a little bit?
I mean, they'll get to experience their stories. So you'll find out what they did, and then you'll hear them talk, and you'll see and experience it. So while we're there during the commercials, I can have conversations with my daughters so they can learn that there's so much more for them to do than just look cute and have nice makeup. They can literally be world changers. They can literally shake up the world. And so that's what they'll see and experience. And I can't wait for it. I mean, far too many of our girls look up to one-dimensional type of celebrities, one-dimensional type influencers. No shade or no slight to anybody, but there's so much more to what we can be and what we can do. And so when you offer them this wide range, this array of beautiful women who are changing the world, it gives them possibility. Like you said, you heard Miss Hughes speak, and you wanted to be a part of this company. I think that can happen if we allow our young daughters to watch this and experience it as well. Gives them hope, give them options, and give them, creativity and all those things that come when you see someone that inspires you. Because I think it's going to be very, very inspiring.
There you have it. All right. And I've been on the other side of this, so I know for all the outlets out there, we got Tribe Media, and we got, Tyreek Wynn on here. So I'm going to, open up the floor, and I think we're going to, Yannika's going to tell me who's going to go first, and we'll try to get through the questions for everybody, and let our panelists also comment as needed. So, thank you once again for joining us, and then we'll start with the questions for Erica.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. We are pleased to announce our honorees for this year's Urban One Honors. As Ms. H mentioned, we're celebrating women who are leading the change. And as we all know, Stacey Abrams at the very top of our list, she's our voting rights champion. She needs no introduction, I'm sure, for most of you understand exactly the impact that she has had as a political leader and a voting rights advocate. So we're very honored to have her on our show. In addition, we have Nicole Hannah-Jones. She is the investigative journalism crusader. She's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist covering racial injustice for the New York Times. And she's the creator of the landmark 1619 Project. And that's part of why we're honoring her. Dr. Ayla Stanford, she is our health equity advocate. And for those of you who may not know, Dr. Ayla is the founder of the Black Doctors Consortium, COVID-19 Consortium in Philly, which was in direct response to the disproportionate numbers of African Americans who were being affected by COVID-19, could not get testing or treatment, and she stepped in to fill that need. A really incredible story. We also have Roz Brewer, and she is our business alchemist. Roz was recently named the CEO of the Walgreens Boots Alliance, which is a historic appointment. Ms. Brewer will be really the third African-American female executive to lead a Fortune 500 company. So we're very pleased to have her as well. We have Ms. Kim Ford. She's our Family Needs Ambassador. Ms. Ford is the president and CEO of Martha's Table here in the DC area, and they really help to build stronger communities by providing access to quality education, health, and wellness, and different family resources. So very impactful for Martha's Table. And finally, we have, last but not least, Roo Simmons. She is our reparations ambassador. Ms. Simmons is the alderman of Evanston, Illinois' 5th Ward, and she is responsible for the city's reparations resolution that was passed recently, and that's going to provide $25,000 per eligible resident to use for housing. An incredible, incredible milestone. So those are our honorees for this year, all incredible women leading the change, and we're happy to present them to you.
In addition to that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Robin.
I was going to say that Roz Brewer, although she's the third African-American woman to hold the position of the lead of Fortune 500 company, she's the only person right now, the only Black woman in that position doing it now. The others have now retired from it. Is that what you were going to say, Ms. H?
I was going to add on that we're honoring all 4 of our sister sororities and their leadership. Yeah. We're honoring the women, our sisters who serve in the United States House of Representatives. We are waiting also from a piece from the one and only vice president, the first African-American woman ever to hold that office. We've got just an assortment of women of accomplishment that we're going to share with you that evening, in addition to the honorees. We just didn't want to do the honorees as we normally do with Urban One Honors. We wanted to spotlight sisters who are getting the change effectuated, leading the change and making certain that it occurs. Also, Erica, I wanted to recognize the incredible job that you did co-hosting with Roland Martin, one of the few brothers that we have on the show this year. But you did just an incredible job of not only hosting, but also sharing with us my all-time favorite, get these shackles off my feet so that I can dance. I thank you for that, because you know, that is from her merry days, but I had to resurrect it because it's such a testimony to what Black women go through. And so I just thank you for that very much. Anyone else have anything else that I might have missed?
Excited to have, as Ms. Hughes mentioned, the Brothers Say a Word. We did not leave the brothers out. We have them featured in sections we're calling Brothers Say a Word, which is really about the brothers standing up, advocating for, supporting the sisters who we are honoring, because we are one community, brothers and sisters together. And it was really meaningful for us to say, look, our brothers support us. They support what we do, and they stand right alongside with us. Some of the brothers we have include Bob Johnson, who needs no introduction to you guys in the press, I'm sure. Van Jones.
Excuse me, let me just say, the first time on TV1.
Okay. Yes. And Van Jones as well, and Senator Raphael Warnock. So they'll all say a word.
And wait, you getting ready to get us all fired. And Alfred Liggins, our CEO.
And Alfred Liggins, I did not forget. That was a surprise, Ms. Hughes.
And Cedric Richmond.
Congressman Cedric Richmond,
yes,
exactly.
Wow. Okay.
And that's all of them. Okay, that's the entire list.
This question is for Miss Erica Campbell. First of all, it's an honor to be a part of the celebration for championing women, and it's hosted by a champion woman. Us heathens, we've been without church for some time now, thanks to COVID. Can we expect for you to take us to church at least once as our host this year?
That's a good question. Yes, you definitely get a little church in there. As Ms. Hughes said, I perform shackles by myself, which is different, but I'm excited to do it. And I feel like that's as a believer, as also all the things that I do, I represent God. And so I have to always bring that everywhere I go. So absolutely, I got you.
I love it. And while everybody's waiting on Rihanna's album, I'm still waiting on Mary Murray's album.
My question is for Erica or Ms. Hughes. Going through the pandemic, music was an escape for all of us. So can you guys talk about the role that music played as you guys navigated through the pandemic?
Well, for me, music was it's always been very healing. Whether I need music to dance, laugh, or worship, or just to remember a time. And so sometimes that includes tears. It's just really powerful. There's a song that has always pushed me forward. It's called He's Preparing Me. It's a song by the Wilmington Chester Mass Choir. And there's a line that blesses me every time I hear it. He's providing me with what I'll need to carry out the next matters in my life. And isn't that what we're always looking for? How do we carry out this vision, this plan, this drive? And so when you have a soundtrack to help you out, it can definitely fuel you. And the absolutely same for worship. I ask my kids all the time, what did you listen to when you needed to get in the presence of the Lord? What song did you use to help you get there? Just to kind of cultivate their love for music. They love music, but I have to make sure that they're listening to the right stuff, because sometimes the music that you listen to is taking you down the wrong road. It's too sad, it's too angry, it's too dark. And so you have to be careful with what you listen to. So music has been a big thing, as of course it would be in my house.
Hi, It's such an honor to be here. I'm Alexi with Red Carpet Fly, and I just wanted to, this question's for Ms. Campbell. Going through the pandemic and going through the amount of loss, I lost a lot of people in my family. What keeps you uplifted and inspired during such tragic times?
That tomorrow's always coming, that life is still here. And if you are still here, there's something for you to do. I remember losing my father. I remembered saying to myself, if there was something more that he was supposed to give me, God would have left him here. But his time on earth had come to an end because what he needed to pour, he had poured out. And if the scripture also says he knew us before we was in our mother's womb, it's actually not going for the first time, it's going back where we started. And so I think there's times where God says, you spend enough time there, I want you back with me. And it's hard to accept, but I know that I now have the responsibility of representing my dad and representing my family and representing my faith and being a proud Black woman and raising my kids and loving my husband and doing what I do. So I understand that loss is a part of life. So I try not to hold on too tightly because I know that people will leave. So that means while they're here, I have to love them. While they're here, I have to express my heart. While I have them here, I have to do everything within me to let them know how much I love them.
Well, thank you so much. And,
thank you for that question. Oh my goodness, I needed to hear that.
Fly
Thank
for the
you,
win.
Erica. Woo, I needed that.
Thank you. That's so, that is very inspiring and uplifting because like I said, I also too lost quite a bit of family members
praying for you.
to COVID.
We're sorry for your
loss.
Sorry,
and thank you so much for asking that question. I think it benefited not just you and me on this call, but several others who are going through loss also. Thank you.
I just want to thank everyone for being here. My question is for Erica. As someone who, is so in tune with their faith and is always showcasing that, I have to ask, how do you believe your faith has impacted your career in the industry thus far?
Well, there's a scripture that says, for I know the plans that I have for you, plans of good and not evil, to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. So if God is the creator and he created me and there's these amazing plans he has for me, my faith in him means I'm going to have access to the best plan, the best strategy, the best favor that you could ever experience. So I wouldn't be here without my faith. I couldn't do what I do without my faith. If all things are possible to them that believe, I always ask myself, what do you believe? Do you believe that you are here on purpose, for a purpose that will change the world? And I say yes. And the reason I can say yes is because I lean on my faith and I trust God 100% with everything that I can have. Good, bad, and indifferent. That means I won't have valleys. That means I won't have issues. I won't have problems, but I'll also have amazing victories that cannot be compared to anything anybody else could do. So I wouldn't be here without my faith. God is my lead, my guide, my source. Even when the answer I get is something I don't want, I still trust on him because I know the victory is mine. Because there's also a scripture that says, in this world you will have tribulation, but thanks be unto God who always gives us the victory. So I'm victorious without even trying to be because of my faith.
Oof. Thank you for that one. Definitely need that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you for having me. Okay, so I'll direct my question to Ms. Hughes. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Okay, so my question to you is, so this year's theme is women leading the change. So I wanted to ask you, what does leading the change mean to you? And then also, what are some things that you're doing to lead the change? And then what is it, I'm a young journalist, I'm at Georgia State. So I want to know, what does it take to succeed in the media industry?
Well, number one, if I had the answer to that, I probably would have retired years ago because I could have sold 1 trillion copies of the book. I think that it is very much being able to recognize opportunities when they come. How many individuals who are now, icons in the media industry were at one time interns, but they were in the right place at the right time. What women leading the change means, and the reason we decided to spotlight our sisters that are in fact effectuating change is because it's not in the majority media's best interest to highlight the fact that things are changing and sisters are taking charge. The reality is that Black folks, period, are portrayed in the media how white folks see us. And oftentimes we see Academy Awards even being given to people for movies that we've never seen that aspect of life. Lee Daniels and I had a big falling out because I told him that I had been in the community doing work for many decades and I had never met a Precious. And yet the movie won an Academy Award because that's how white folks see us. We have to, in order, like Erica said, inspire our young future generations, our youth, by showing them what's actually being done, showing them the work, not just the personality. America has become so celebrity driven. This program, this year's Urban One Honors focuses on the work. Yes, we also salute those who are leading the change, but most importantly, this year, we are trying to show our community and anyone else who wants to, look in, what is actually being done to change and improve the quality of life and uplift our entire community. The actions, I think, are far more important than the personalities.
Miss H, I am so honored to have this moment to connect with you. I am a Radio One, Urban One alumni. And I just want to ask everyone here involved, what does it mean to be under the leadership of a Black woman, Miss H? And what do you think Urban One means to the Black community?
I mean, it's amazing. At this company, there are a lot of women leading the change, and Ms. H is one of those people who's been leading the change for years. And so we get to do that on a daily basis. I mean, there's not a lot of founders and chairpersons who would actually interface with the team and the staff at all levels like Ms. H does, and Ms. H is involved in everything. Ms. H is going through titles with us, and Ms. H is she's making calls when we can't get to the finish line with someone. She does everything. And so she shows by example. And Urban One has just been an amazing force in the Black community. I mean, from radio to TV, and now having the largest footprint of Black verticals is amazing. I mean, I don't think that I've ever not met someone in a day who hasn't actually worked at Urban One. And I come from New York, and often we didn't get Radio One stations when I was growing up. So I'm not telling you how old I am, but we didn't get Radio One stations, but I still knew about Radio One and Cathy Hughes. And so when I first took the job at TV One now 15 or 16 years ago, it was amazing for me to actually meet this legend and this woman who is actually more than a legend. She's a living, breathing person and woman who's a force of nature.
Hey, I'm like Ryan. Send me your PayPal number. I'll take care of that.
Does anyone else want to answer?
Yes, I definitely do. I have been watching on the sidelines for many years. When me and my sister first started, she was always kind and gracious to us, and not just in playing my music, but in giving us tips on how to operate and, how to make sure that we weren't just cute girls singing, to really make a difference. And then the opportunity to have my own syndicated radio show is because she believed that I could do it, even though I was on the West Coast and there were so many things in the way. Being able to send a message and get wisdom is just a total privilege for this woman who has changed radio. So many of our stations are successful because of her ideas, because of her passion. And so to be able to work for her is a total privilege. And I'm honored to be a part. As long as she'll have me, I will be here.
Amen.
She told me no first. Erica didn't tell it.
Tell that part.
I called her. She said, no, I live on the West Coast. It's too far. And it was funny because then she talked to Warren. She and her husband had a little family conference. About half an hour later, my phone rang. Erica was cute. She said, Miss Hughes, is that job still open? Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Pam, and I am from We Empower Magazine. First of all, I am so elated to be here with all of you. And so my question is for you, Mrs. Hughes. As a Black woman, first of all, I love the theme of this year, women leading change, because there have been so many contributions to social and political challenges and stigmas that are faced by Black women. So you have been around for a long time. And so I have to ask, how does it make you feel seeing these shifts that have been made? And what do you say to those who feel we still have a long way to go?
We'll always have a long way to go, because the only perfect entity is God. We will always have more in front of us to accomplish. The progress is the important part. One of the individuals who's a part of the show this year is Angela Davis. Now, Elaine Brown and so many other women made such an incredible contribution in the change of how social activism is about, but no Black woman has ever been on the FBI most wanted list for standing up for her community other than Angela Davis. And I have to honestly admit, all my life, she has been a standard by which I have based my activism on. I have to thank Jazz Smollett for making it possible for Angela Davis to join us this year. And I'm able to check off another box on my life's journey, because when I really think about to be on the FBI's most wanted list, that anybody could have gunned her down immediately upon sight and gotten away with it. And yet she did not change, not one iota. She went through the legal challenges, she won. And in my opinion, she deserves the title of godmother of social activism, because like I said, we've had some great social activists over the years, but none of them made the FBI's most wanted list.
Having Angela a part of this show, and as we're sitting, it's almost like when you watch this show, you're sitting at the feet of these great women. We're celebrating our legacy. We're talking about women leading the change and honoring the women who are currently leading the change, as well as the women who have been leading the change for decades and are still leading the change, like Miss Cathy Hughes, like Angela Davis, like the International Sweethearts of Rhythm. Just their existence has been leading the change for years and years. And it's really an honor to be a part of this show. And it's also, I hope that as everyone watches, they can recognize that you really are getting a rare opportunity to sit at these women's feet and learn something about our history, our past, and where we're going. Our legacy and our ancestors feed us to where we're going in the future and the changes that we're all making.
Thank you. I'd just like to put a footnote that it's important for our youth to see this show, but more importantly, little girls, every young woman that you know, every young girl, you need to take it upon yourself to ask them to sit with you and watch this show, so that they will see examples that are different than the housewives of every major Black city, okay, in America now. The examples of shows that portray Black women doing more destructive things to each other and to the community, and yet getting rave reviews. These are women who don't get the publicity. You may know their names, but like I said, we're focusing on what they are actually doing to improve life for Black folks. Please, if all of the journalists on this line, on this Zoom call today, don't do anything else, please encourage young women to watch this show. It's very important. And we don't know who's going to be the next Kamala Harris. We don't know which one of those little girls might grow up to be the first Black woman president, or change an entire state's voting structure like Stacey Abrams, or run Walgreens like Roz Brewer. It's so important for girls to see a different example, as Erica said, so that they concentrate more on action and how they can make a contribution than on whether or not they have the latest fad in hair, which is now past the bottom side. Okay, I don't know how sisters can sleep with braids down to their knees, but they, as always, sisters can master it. Okay, they figured it out. And eyelashes and nails which unfortunately is the focus of so many of our young girls. We need to get them refocused, and they can still have braids down to their ankles if they want it. They can have nails and lashes as long as they so desire, but they also have an obligation to do something to make life better for other sisters and brothers that are in their own families, in their communities, in this country, and then hopefully globally.
Yes, so I thank you so much, both of you, for that wonderful answer. And I really thank you for giving the right representation to show and highlight dynamic women. I would definitely be looking forward to watching, and I will be having all of my nieces and nephews make sure and watch so that they can have the influence that they need to make change. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pam.
Thank you so much to Cathy, Ms. Hughes, for just believing in me and hiring me for this. I was so honored. And I didn't take it lightly when she told me that this was a tribute in honor of her mother. So I studied, I watched the documentary, I listened to the music. I didn't want to obscure it too much, and I made sure that the charts for the ladies were written very specific to what I had already heard. And in doing doing music for any award show, it's very important because it's the soundtrack that goes for the whole entire show, and it kind of carries it as it goes along with the host or performance. And that was what was such an honor for this particular performance. Not only were we honoring women for doing Black women for doing great things, to know that Miss Hughes' mother was a trombone player in this amazing all-female jazz band called the International Sweethearts of Rhythm. And I'll be transparent and tell everybody, I hadn't even heard about the group. So when it was presented to me and I started doing my research, I started calling all my female musicians. I said, you got to see this. This is amazing, and I know Miss Hughes has been told many times, just go on and make the movie. Miss Hughes, just go on and make the movie.
We will have to pass the hat on that.
And it was very important. And I did want to not only just honor her mother, her mother's legacy, just the outline of what this band was in the 1940s era that people don't know. And I'm glad that we're going to be able to expose people now to that legacy, to be able to see it, to be able to hear it, is just an amazing thing. And I'm very excited because I've done a lot of shows and a lot of different musics, but this was the first time that I was able to do big band with an all-female band. So it was a delight for me, and I truly enjoyed it.
If I can just add a quick footnote, they were an interracial band, and Earl Father Hines called them the first freedom riders. This is the 1930s and 40s. Said they played swing, which was the forerunner to jazz, and the reality was that the white girls had to put on dark makeup to pass for Black, which is just the opposite of what a lot of Black folks have had to do. They were arrested, they were harassed, but they did not stop playing what at that time was called the Chitlin Circuit. Although the Chitlin Circuit at that time they played the Howard Theater, they set box office records at the Apollo. They did these incredible things, and then everyone forgot about them because they were primarily a Black, all-female orchestra. And so I thank you again, Kim, because as I said, not only was it time for their story to be told. There were Chinese women in the band. There were Spanish women in the band. There were white girls in the band. It was an interracial group of 18 women that traveled not only the United States from coast to coast, but they also stayed in Europe and entertained the troops of the USO for 6 months. They lived in Paris and they lived in Germany. They lived in England. A group of teenagers, basically, when this band was formed, that were determined that they were not going to let their age, their sex, discrimination, nothing was going to stop them for their first love, which was music?
Well, we were working on a show, of course, called Uncensored. And there was a certain person that we have been trying to secure for about a year. We were able to get this person just recently, about a month ago. And we shot their show, and it was a great show. And unfortunately, that person has just passed, and it was his last interview, and it was with DMX. So
An hour with DMX in his own words, with his mother on our intro, the hour before Urban One Honors. DMX sat down with Nikki and Jay. And Ryan, were you the director on this one also? Because I know you've been producing a lot of these Uncensored.
I unfortunately was not on this one, but I am so excited. I've seen a couple of excerpts, but I know that Nikki can talk about what they've been up in New York doing to make this a complete package. Nikki, you want to give them a little excerpt on, you've talked to just about everybody. This is going to be quite a show.
Okay, Nikki, give it to them, but don't give them everything because we want them to watch.
No, just a little tease, just a little tease. Nikki know how to do it.
We've spoken to a lot of people within the industry. We've spoken to people within his family. He talked a lot about, it's like eerie to watch what he said and then to know that he's no longer with us. And it looks as though it's like a lot of foreshadowing from what he's given us, from what he said in the interview. Like when you see it, I'll be like, oh my God, this is craziness. But yeah.
1 hour with DMX in his own words, Uncensored, for those of you who have never watched our show, is different than Unsung. Uncensored is the individual themselves telling their story, uncensored. And for DMX to be with us 3 weeks before God called him home is, in my opinion, divine intervention. And Nikki, job well done. I thank you so very much for staying the course, because he kept telling her no. And she wouldn't take no for an answer. And I thank you for that. And I'm sure his family and his friends and his fan club, everyone is thanking you for that. It is so much footage that we're going to actually do it in 2 parts. And we're going to do the hour before Urban One Honors, and are prayerful that the young people will stay with us and watch Urban One Honors, as well as, because I know a lot, once you distinguished members of the press tell them that there's going to be DMX in his own words 3 weeks before he dies, that they're going to be tuned into that. But I want them also to be encouraged to stay so that they can see that we are making progress, even though we still have a long ways to go.
Thank you.
I'm excited, to be very honest with you. I think it's going to be the biggest night in the history of TV1, quite frankly. But that can only occur if you all help us.
If I could jump in for a moment, Ryan, I just wanted to say that this show is so special. We've been pitched by, I don't know, over 20 or more producers' projects with DMX. And this is the first time it happened. Over the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, and DMX could say no, he would say no. So there's something really is divine about the fact that we got this. And Nikki has a special touch. And so we're really excited, as Ms. H says, and we are hoping that you guys help propel this evening into being the biggest night for us.
Yeah, I'm sorry, someone just asked the question, can we let folks know now? Yes, we saved the surprise for you all so that you all could release the information.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have the scoop.
Ms. Hughes, I just want to take the moment to say it is an honor to be on here with you. I had the opportunity of actually being at the Urban One Honors Awards in 2019 when you were surprised with Anita Baker. And I was out in tears the whole time because she was just so beautiful, serenading you all over the stage. It was so awesome. As a trailblazer, especially being a native from DC, I've just actually begun doing some radio myself. What is us as, you know, I'm sorry, can you hear?
You're going in and out.
Yeah, we heard you say what is, and then that was it.
Oh, okay, sorry. As a trailblazer, and especially because you're a DC native, that's me too. But I just wanted to see what your advice would be, as not just you, all of the other honorees that are on here, because I think it's important to hear that it's not about following, but more so about being the one to begin something new and finding the problem or the issue and being the cause and the solution. What would be your advice to us and as the youth of how to make that happen and how to push forward with that as a movement?
Well, you're kind of fast tracking my closing remarks, so I'm gonna give them now. I encourage everyone on this call to consider going in business for yourself if these, what you're representing is not your company. It is very difficult when you have to clear your passion through someone else's filter and perception. It is so important. These are very struggling, difficult times for Black-owned media because major corporations figure that they can program to Black people better than we can, even though it's our community. But I just want to encourage each and every one of you to consider working for yourself, but more importantly, consider partnershiping with each other. You know, many years ago, Tom Joyner made the decision to bring his company and partner with us. There are other companies, Vasa, another example of another Black company partnering with us. Consider doing it for yourself and consider doing it with others, because that's really the simplest way to lead the change and effectuate the elevation of our lifestyle. Because as long as we are required to do that what someone else's perception says who we are, if we're not telling our own story from our own perspective in our own way, it does not have the same impact. One of the things that I had to learn the hard way was this: oftentimes that commitment can be very expensive, but the rewards that you get as you see the prospering of your community, as you see the tide rising, a rising tide lifts all boats, but there needs to be more of us. You know, it's many hands, you know, lighten the load on all of us. So please, 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 each and every one of you on this call, consider doing it yourself, for yourself, and using that commitment to yourself, owning your own in partnership with some other brothers and sisters. We can get to the finish line a lot sooner, a lot easier if we work together. Unity is the key.
Hi, how are you? First and foremost, my name is Nicole from Your Voice magazine. Really excited to be here, and I'm really, really happy that this is the year of the Black woman. Although every year should be the year of the Black woman, in my opinion. Now, my question is for Erica Campbell. So if so many women are getting honored this year, as they rightfully should, it doesn't stop here only at the Urban Honors, as many artists are getting honored with the biopic treatment, from Dionne Warwick to Aretha Franklin, and to now recently announced Janet Jackson. Now, Dionne Warwick has currently tapped Tiana Taylor to play her in the Netflix biopic of her career set to premiere soon. Who would you tap to honor Mary Mary and your legacy in a biopic, and can we expect one soon from you?
Wow, great question. I know people keep saying formerly of Mary Mary, but I'm still in Mary Mary. We actually have 2 concerts this year. Indiana State Fair and something else. You can probably find it on the website. It would take some thought. It would be a huge honor to have someone, you know, play us and tell our story, because it is one story. I mean, you know, so many people have had much more traumatic lives, but I'm grateful to every Mary Mary fan that would even be interested in this.
Hey, Erica, we're thinking about that over here at TV One.
Ooh, TV1, can we expect something? You guys did it with DMX.
You beat us in case to talk to Erica about that. We're thinking about that. Stay tuned.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, well, there it is there.
There we have it there. I love that. Thank you so much, Erica. And hopefully we get that biopic. In my opinion, I can see maybe, you know, younger versions of yourselves, maybe like a Chloe and Haley playing younger versions of I don't know. But y'all get that together and y'all let me know.
Hey everyone, I'm Tammy Reese with Hustle Soul Magazine. It's such an honor to be here, not only professionally, but personally getting jewels dropped from you all. My question is for Susan, your executive producer in charge of production. Now, Black women is such a small niche of Black women in the industry of television, film, and media. What positive changes do you want to see for and by Black women in entertainment, media, television industry?
Great question.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And I think that what we're doing at TV One is really at the core of those changes, and that's uplifting Black people across the board, telling our stories, elevating and empowering folks in our community, and really celebrating the ones that are actually doing things to make impactful change that affect all of us. And I absolutely believe that helping the next generation coming forward and paying back, what we have learned along the way, and giving those jewels and those gems to people who want to step into those roles as well is very important. So looking forward to continuing to do that with TV One. As you know, our founder, that's what the core of this company has been built on. And I won't take the words out of Ms. H's mouth, but education is power, information is power. And that's what we try to do on a daily basis with all of our programming, is really to uplift our community, celebrate ourselves, and create content for us, by us, and for us, because that space is where we live every single day. We're all impacted by what goes on in the world around us, and now we have a voice. We can express ourselves, we can come together, and we can help each other heal in times that are difficult and challenging to go through.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. My question is for Kim Burse. Kim, I'm such a huge fan. I've been following your work since I was, I think, old enough to go to concerts and see music videos. And I've loved your work with Destiny's Child, Beyonce did recently with Jennifer Lopez. How was it with this event for Urban One Honors? How was it this time around, just preparing and being music director on something like this?
One of the, not even a challenge, but I was very particular in this one about the sheet music that I had distributed to everyone. Whereas like if I do other shows, it's more of a thing of where we listen, we pick up by ear, and I kind of swing with it, sometimes having an arrangement in mind for the song. This one was, I felt like I had to be very particular with the legacy of Miss Hughes' mother and what the International Sweethearts had done. So that was a little different twist for me. And I enjoyed it so much because to have as a musical director, to have your musical abilities, in pushed in other areas than what normally it would be for a Beyonce show or a J-Lo show or a Jamie Foxx tour show or something like that. This was different for me, but in a great way. So that was what I really, really enjoyed on tackling the music for this particular show.
It's an honor and a privilege to be speaking with each and every one of you beautiful ladies here on this beautiful Wednesday. My question is for Erica, but it's also open for everyone. Women leading the change is such a powerful theme for this year's Urban One Honors. How proud are you all with the evolution of women literally taking over in these male-dominated fields?
I think it's amazing. It is just to be a part of what's happening in our world right now is truly, truly amazing. I mean, if you look at Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams and the different ones that have done amazing things, it's so encouraging that we are not just on the sideline, not just an addendum to what a man is doing. No slight to our brothers. We love our brothers, but women deserve their due, and this is their chance. And so now we can convey this message to our girls. And it's been said over and over that we should all have our daughters watching. I'll definitely have mine. I have 25 nieces and nephews, and I think they all should watch, not just the girls, but the boys as well. Because when the boys see what they're doing, it gives them a different perspective. They don't objectify, they honor and reverence in a different way. So I think that we should have our girls and our boys, so they all learn this is what women look like. This is what the things that Black women have done, beyond our entertainers who we love and our celebrities who we love. There are women who have changed this world, and we need to know, see, and celebrate it. So we plant the seeds for the next generation to do the same thing, because that's what happens. They hear a story and they see something and they're intrigued, and now they do their own research and they want to know what's next. So I'm happy for the next generation to watch this show and find out who these amazing women are.
Hi, my name is Gloria Taylor. We motivate, we educate, and we inspire. This question is for Cathy Hughes. Cathy, how did your determination and courage change the lives of so many people?
I've always felt that God had me on a mission. I was never really trying to build a career for myself. I was really trying to disseminate information to my community. I felt that a voice of God was always in my ear saying, listen, when Black folks get the right information, they make the right decision. They will be able to move us forward. But somebody's got to get them the right information. That's what Ida B. Wells and Frederick Douglass and so many of our ancestors understood. That's the reason each of you on this call today have such an important responsibility in terms of getting the information to our people. Because, you know, you hear about food deserts and health deserts. We have an information desert also. You know, if you watch the 11 o'clock news, there's always something bad that's going on in the hood. Okay, that's how they get their ratings. The reality is there's so many things of significant importance, but if nobody knows about them, it's like the old adage, you know, if you build a better mousetrap and nobody knows you have it, it's not going anywhere. So my whole motivation, my inspiration has always been that I felt that God really destined me, as I think other people, I think Stacey Abrams probably would say she felt God made her do it. All right, that she could have gone off and made a lot of money doing a lot of other things, as brilliant as she is. But when you really adhere to, you know, most of us pray. If you Black, at some point in your life, you were required to pray, but most of us don't listen. And the listening is the most important part, because God communicates back. It's not a one-way street. And you have to be loyal to that message that's being sent to you. You can't say, oh yeah, well, that sounds good, Lord, but I don't think that's what I'm really about. Okay, because that message tells you what you really are about. And I think that that has been the motivation of so many individuals. We say it in different ways. Erica said that, you know, she doesn't do anything that doesn't first give praise and honor to God. We do it in our separate ways, but the job that you all have, because, you know, if we had had this Zoom call even 5 years ago, half of you were not doing what you're doing now. But you've got to keep foremost in your mind and your commitment that is for the betterment of your people, that you're disseminating information that can improve someone's life, someone you may never, ever know the name of, or someone you may never meet. That's irrelevant. The point is that you helped them.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Ms. Hughes, how are you?
Anytime I talk with you, I'm better.
Thank you. Pleasure to speak with you as well. My question is, how important is it to build a legacy, to leave something of value behind? And speaking of legacy, what are you most proud of as far as your legacy?
I think that every generation should do better. Every generation should not have to start over. The thing that I'm most proud of is that God only blessed me with one child, my son, Alfred, and he was willing to embrace my dream. It's very difficult oftentimes for parents to get their children to embrace their dream, particularly if it's not what the child wanted to do. But I was blessed. Alfred wanted to do it ultimately after he worked for Motown and did a whole bunch of other things, but ultimately he came back and wanted to take it to a different level. TV One, iOne Digital, our expansion really is all because of his efforts and his work in our company. So my proudest legacy is the fact that it's become generational. He has a son now, and I'm prayerful that Charlie will want to do it, because as I said, I grew up with my mother saying to me, every generation is supposed to do better. We should not, each generation, have to start over and reinvent the wheel.
Great. Well, congratulations. Looking forward to seeing Urban One Honors and DMX So congratulations to you all, continued success.
Thank you. And thank you for tying them together. That's so very important
Yes.
to us.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. That's the
All right,
point
God
Ryan
bless.
was making.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So first of all, thank you guys for just even opening up this platform so we can be a part. My question is for any of the ladies. First, congratulations to all the honorees and all the women that are represented in this Zoom. Hats off to every last one of you. As a woman, and I'll to any of the women, but as a woman, we juggle so much from our children, we juggle our careers, our businesses, and everything. How do you ladies manage to juggle so much and still practice self-care?
You have to make time to do it. I think I'm guilty of not often doing self-care, but I make an appointment once a week to go to the massage because I deserve that. And I work really hard. But I also have, we have a community of people, we come from a community. And so I have a husband, I have parents, and I have a job, and I have a community of friends and family. And so it all works because you have people that support you and help you get through. I mean, there's a misnomer that we can be superwomen because we're not. We're just human and we're just juggling. And at some point in the day, something takes a precedent over other things, right? And during the day, we're working. And you have to ilk out time every day. And my mother-in-law told me this when I got married. Every day you have to do something for yourself because there's no promise of tomorrow. And I try to remember that.
If I could just add one thing to that, I think one thing about when we're talking about women leading the change is injecting the feminine into our society more. So when we see these women, these amazing women on this year's Urban One Honors and how they are leading the change, it's with a certain amount of care. It's with a certain amount of understanding that we all have full lives. I know, for instance, one of our honorees, I really respected the fact that she was like, I can't do my interview this particular day. That's my day I'm with my kids. And that she had the courage to say that, to stand up and say that and say, thank you for the honor, but this is the day that I can't do. And I think that so many times it's a blessing when we have women around us who we're working with, because women can understand those types of things and can understand that family is important. And in order to lead change, we also have to allow for the feminine as well as the masculine, and space for self-care and space for getting the work done, and that we're all composed of all of those things, and all those things are important. And working on this team has been a real blessing personally, as we've been working on Urban One Honors. Sometimes if I'm on a call and my little one who's homeschooling and is 6 years old is in the back, the executives will often say, don't worry about it, it's fine. And then I'll mute myself, but I don't ever get the feeling that it's problematic if they hear a kid in the back, So that's been the blessing also, working with a great team of women, and that comes from the top, obviously, from Ms. Hughes.
Yes, I was gonna bring up that anecdote, so I'm glad you did. And I was gonna also add that Ms. A, this is a family company, right? And so, and it's infused in what we do. And so, I think that because there's a feminine founder, there's a woman who founded the company that has been part of the legacy of TV One. And this is, Ryan, don't take offense, but I think that TV One, the majority of people here are women. This is a women's company. I don't think that was by design. It's just that there's a lot of women at this company and a lot of executives. The men often speak about that, and particularly in my department. But I just wanted to add that.
It's a good thing we don't have to wear all the hats at the same time. And I think that's what's very liberating. I can be one thing at one time. I always find it interesting, though. We never ask men how they balance. Not to say
that's a good
no one
point.
ever
That's
ask
right.
a man how they balance, but I don't care how high up you go. Every woman, it's like a phenomenon. How are you able to do this?
Right.
It implies that you think it's an impossibility, that we
Right.
can't be married to kids and run companies and be millionaires and do all these amazing things, that we're going to drop the ball somewhere. So I always feel a little something in my stomach when I hear that question, because no one ever asks a man. I was talking to Bishop Jakes and I said, has anyone ever asked you how you do it all? He said, no, they only ask women that question.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much. And it's so good to see women that I can relate to that look like me, and that my daughters can relate to that look like them. So we will be watching all 7 of my daughters.
Oh, wow.
Oh, thank you.
And you can have all of them if y'all want them, okay?
Thank you. We'll move on we have about 5 left. And Eric, I think your point is so valid, and I'll probably be sending an email to all of the executives. Next month on my show, we're going to be talking about mental health. And I honestly have not experienced this kind of feedback from my audience ever about people saying they're so glad that somebody's actually talking about it. I haven't had a therapist ever in my life, and I've done it this year for the first time. And when I tell you I found a whole new meaning for myself by the fact that I've been able to embrace my faults and the things and my challenges, it is something that it helps me with my balance. So if nobody ever asks me, that's how I get it all out. So I want to go ahead and put that out there.
Wanted to ask Ms. Cathy Hughes this question directly. With the climate that we are currently finding ourselves in, and you just being a pioneer of this industry, how important is Black media, and how can we create more opportunities for Black-owned media outlets to be able to get the information, and as you alluded to earlier, be able to disseminate the information to our communities through the entertainment and the sports worlds?
You just have to do it. You have to make up your mind and just do it. That's such an incredible slogan, because there is no secret formula. There is no, book written about how do you get it done. You just have to decide in your heart that that's what God intended for you to do, and you go for it. There were many days early in my career when I was the only one that believed I was going to make it, because I never considered giving up as a possibility. And I know some of you on this call today who own your own businesses may have really thought about, well, maybe, I could make more money if I did something else. You just have to have dogged determination. That's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. That advice was given to me by Reverend Jesse Jackson on his 25th wedding anniversary. He was on the air with me. I was doing a morning show then. And I said to him, you have any advice for couples that have not made it to the 25-year mark yet? He said, the only relationships that fail are those that are populated by individuals who give up. He says, as long as one of you is unwilling to let the marriage fail, you will be together 25, 40, 50 years. But somebody has to be determined that they're not going to throw in the towel. And I realized that what he was saying to me was particularly true in business, because business is a relationship. It's a relationship I have with my staff. It's a relationship that I have with my listeners, my viewers, my digital participants. I refuse to give up. I refuse to throw in the towel. So consequently, as time moves on, you get to where you're going. So I think that's the key to any type of relationship you have, whether it's personal or professional.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for this amazing event, and thank you, Ms. Hughes, for everything that you've done. I want to direct my question to Jazz. Seeing that women in production, how important is it to have Black women in production of shows, and especially this amazing event? How important is it to have a woman, direct the production and that production side of things?
Well, I want to start by saying, thank you for your question. I want to start by saying it's incredibly important, because if we're talking about balance and storytelling, and we're talking about telling our own stories, we need to have Black women being part of telling our own stories as well, or it's not the whole picture, right? I have been fortunate enough producing for the last 13 years to work with several women, and you learn so much, you get so much opportunity, and there's such a importance placed on telling the story. What is the humanity involved in the story? And that's what, with this season of Urban One Honors, which again came from the top from Miss Cathy Hughes, we want to get into the humanity of these stories that we're telling. And it's important to have women in place telling these stories, especially when we're talking about we're telling the stories of women, such as the International Sweethearts of Rhythm, the 6 women that we're honoring, the women in elected leadership, the sisters in sororities. We're doing an entire piece on honoring the presidents of the 4 main Divine Nine. Greek organizations. So just really highlighting the work that women have been doing in our community for years. And one thing I want to add is that Black women in particular have always been leading the change. We have platforms that are able to shed a light on this. And we have audiences that are listening at this point and able to see and recognize Black women who have been leading the change. But as Ms. Hughes mentioned earlier about her great-great-grandmother and Harriet Tubman, these women were leading the change, you know, forever. You know, Black women were never waiting for anyone to give them permission to make changes wherever we saw changes needing to be made. So, and it's the same thing in production. So it's just been an honor to be able to work with so many fantastic women, particularly fantastic women of color throughout my career behind the scenes.
How important is it to have Black women in production, especially on these award shows and other shows as well? Because I'm a woman in production, so.
Thank you for your question. It's incredibly important. No one can tell our stories and have our experience other than Black women. So we bring to the table all of that when we're expressing what moves us, what stimulates us, what gets us in the fighting mood to say, we are not going to take this anymore. Something has to be done to make a change in this space. And we're going to be the ones to pick up the gauntlet to do that. So that voice is incredibly important in terms of media and content that we develop. And there are actually more Black women in this space than I think most people are aware of. Those numbers are growing exponentially because we need to be here. We need to be able to be the voice of our experience and not have somebody else tell what they think our experience is. I feel incredibly blessed to have I've been a producer for over 20 years and to be in this arena now at TV One and working directly with, giants like Miss H and Jazz Smollett on this particular project has been an incredible blessing. And I'm so proud to be able to uplift and really present some of the honorees and the other pieces of the show that you're going to see that really celebrate who we are as a people. I really am proud to do that and to be a part of that.
With social justice and equality being at the forefront of today's causes, how important is an event like Urban One Honors in regard to the global conversation on changing the way Black people, and in this case, Black women, are viewed in America?
The Urban One Honors is an important part. I mean, that's part of the conversation that we had. I mean, Ms. H, talked about this quite a bit about Angela Davis and the importance of her being the godmother of social activism. And a lot of the women who are the honorees, even though it might be in different fields, they're actually activists. They're doing things in business and within politics or whatever their area is activism in its own way. I think globally, I think people are catching up with us. Activism is in the heart of Black Americans because we had no other choice. We were forced into some situations when our ancestors came over, not by choice, a lot of them. And so it's what we breathe and live every day. And so when this year came up to do Urban One Honors with COVID and all the other things that were going on, Ms. H and all of us sat down and brainstormed, and we wanted this to be a show that really was about people, the everyday people and what they're doing. And I think that is activism at its best. If I can, I'm just gonna add, because we've all been speaking about bringing our daughters and women to see this show. I also would employ people to also bring somebody from another community to see this show, because we need to be able to reach other people for change to happen outside of just our community. Obviously, we're doing this for us and it's important, but I also think that real change happens when we change other people's hearts and minds.
Good evening, how are y'all doing? My name is Jasmine Wright, and I am with ihearthatgirl.com. My question is for Mrs. Campbell. First, I would like to say who I've been listening to your music since I was a tiny tot of Christ. And my question for you is, considering the chaos that has surrounded the pandemic and the mental strain of the pandemic, as a Black woman, how have you been able to keep a sense of normalcy in regards to work, your mental health, and above all, your faith?
Balancing it properly, trusting, there's some things you can control and some things you can't. Educating myself on the virus and the vaccine and all the information. I think that has been crucial for me. I have a sister who is in the medical field. She's an Ayurvedic practitioner, which is natural medicine. So I think the fact that we have been able to maintain health in this crazy year, and I've still moved around and go to the grocery store and go to, stuff like that. Yes, wearing a mask, but I think my sense of peace has come from what I know. It's hard to feel comfortable when you don't know anything. So I think that's why my heart breaks for the people who are stuck in the house and don't go outside because they're just afraid. You can never let fear motivate you. And so even in a year like 2020, and now still in 2021, just making sure that fear is not what's moving me or pushing me forward, because I'm so afraid. You just can't operate like that. It's just not a way to live. There's things that are unexpected and things that you cannot control. But you move in faith and you educate yourself. And, that's how you keep your peace. I've been able to keep a good spirit through this year, even though my husband and my sister Tina had COVID, because I had big faith, but I also had big information on how to stay healthy. A lot of doctors and nurses in my family. So being able to have that information was everything for me.
It is such a blessing to be on the show with you guys. I am very honored, and thank you again for having Life and Entertainment with Gina Hills on the show. This question is for each panelist, if possible. Can you give key pointers to Black women aspiring to achieve a career in leadership, entertainment, and entrepreneurship successfully in each of your profession?
Besides knowing how to sing and understanding business and all that stuff, learning to not be a victim, learning to not take things personal, being a good communicator, to be honest and open about how you feel, learning to speak up for yourselves. I think all of those things are crucial to success. There are a lot of talented women who are literally afraid to speak up for themselves. I was in a play and the boss was a bit of a bully, and he promised me a position and then he took it back, and I asked him why, and everybody thought I was crazy for asking why. I asked why because I wanted to know. There was no other way to know. I couldn't ask everybody around. I had to ask him. Well, needless to say, I got my part that he told me I was supposed to have because I spoke up for myself. So no matter what field you're in, learning to speak up for yourself and being a lady and being kind. You don't have to cuss anybody out and be rude and obnoxious, but learning to own who you are and feel comfortable in that will allow you to be successful no matter what field you're in.
Besides the basics like education and preparation, which is important, I think that a lot of times people are not prepared for the opportunity. You need to be prepared, but relationships are key. I freelanced for a long time before I got to TV1. This is the longest job I've had in my career. And I went to 2 major universities, but I've built relationships all throughout my life and treating people with respect. I mean, I have the R's that I can go down. It's resilience, it's relationships, it's resourcefulness. It's also being respectful and also having a reputation that you can be proud of. So when people say your name, they know that means something. That means quality, that means, passion, whatever it is.
In addition to everything that everyone just said, I'd like to add, I've found that having to go a lot off of instinct and intuition, what's your next move? Not putting yourself in a box. Like I always say to people, I have 12 different jobs because I just do. And, I like it that way, but also not putting yourself in a box of, oh, this is what I do. No, I was put here with certain gifts and I use these gifts in a variety of different ways, and that's okay. But intuition has really been a thing for me, having a higher power that I look to. So oftentimes I'll wake in the morning, honestly, and be like, God, I'm not producing this show today. You are. Being like, I'm just the vessel. You're going to do it. I'm about to write this one sheet or do whatever I'm going to do, or sit in on this edit session, produce this content, whatever. And I'm going to sit here and say, God, what do you need the people to know about this particular thing I'm working on? And then I just get out of the way and start writing, for instance. Like it's really been a way for me personally that works, and that I can trust.
So I'm Madison J. I'm with, I have a podcast with iHeartRadio, and my show is all about spirituality. So my question is going to be to Mrs. Hughes. It is an honor to be here and to grace you with your energy and your time. I would like to know for you, because this award show is all about sisterhood and really homing in on that and honoring women who have built legacies all over the world who may have been unheard. So what I want to ask you is there a woman whose spiritual essence, and I know you spoke briefly in regards to your grandmother, but maybe like a soul sister who has influenced you and encouraged you throughout this process? What has the essence of their spirits left with you to help you build your legacy?
After I left Howard University Radio, I had the pleasure of creating an all gospel station that's now part of the Radio One family, WYCB. Even the same way my flagship station for Radio One is WOL. It means We Offer Love. WYCB was We're Your Community Broadcaster. And the station had been dark for a couple decades, and I was able to get it out of the FCC and put it on the air, but I needed a staff. So I did a cattle call. And there was a young lady who was the office manager at her family's newspaper, the Afro. And she showed this incredible spirit. And I was just so pleased to offer her a position on our gospel station. She worked for me for 2 years. And then she came in one day and she said, Miss Hughes, I'm sorry, I've got to resign because I've been called. I said, you've been called? Who called you to tell you you had to leave? She said, God. Well, I'm Catholic, so I didn't know about the calling. And so she explained it to me. Dr. Reverend, I guess the Reverend should come first, Reverend Dr. Vashti McKenzie is someone that I have had such incredible inspiration from, because I watched this sister go from an office manager to being a gospel air personality for me on WYCB, to being the highest ranking African American woman in the AME hierarchy. And those of you who know about the AME hierarchy know that that's no small task, that's no small undertaking. And so I would probably give my spiritual inspiration as well as my greatest joy in watching the progression of Vashti McKenzie's career to Reverend Dr. Vashti McKenzie, who, by the way, for those of you who do not know, is retiring in July. She has fulfilled her mission, and now I'm trying to convince her to come back into radio.
Greetings, Women for the Culture here, Camille Davis. My question is for Ms. Hughes. We already got into why representation is so important. Can you please take it a step further and let us know how to not only step into our power, but stand in and activate it?
I think it kind of goes back to what Erica was saying. You have to really be willing to, some of us aren't just shy, naturally, but we don't want to challenge the system. We don't want to buck the status quo. I think that you have to have a certain amount of boldness. You have to be willing to let the FBI put you on their most wanted list to accomplish the goal, the mission that God, instilled and required you to do. I think that that's one of the things that a lot of women, so often, when I talk to various groups and sisters, they don't really feel that good about speaking out about themselves and their accomplishments. And I think that that's the reason this year's Urban One Honors is so significant. The young sister in Evanston, Illinois, Robin, went to the city council not thinking about reparations, but she knew that these cannabis licenses were so important to those who wanted to open up distributorships that she was able to convince her fellow aldermen to put a surtax on it, raised $10 million and is already distributing $25,000 per African-American who qualifies for reparations in Evanston, Illinois. That's a story that everybody should have on their front page, because we've been talking about reparations ever since liberation from slavery, okay, that we were going to get the 40 acres and a mule. That was supposed to be our reparations. The Japanese have gotten them, other groups have gotten them. This sister is giving out reparations and nobody's telling her story. I think it is so important, and I'm hopeful, and she's young. I'm hopeful that this will inspire her. That my mama used to have a saying, there's a poor dog who won't wag their own tail. I think that it's really important for us not only to do important things in leading the change, but also to be unafraid to take credit for it, to really self-assert ourselves and say, you know, look, this is what I'm about. I was happy when Robin Green Arrington said she's been doing this for 20 plus years. Okay, normally she doesn't wag her own tail about the wonderful things that she's been involved in. Kim Burse. Kim had already done charts and everything else before I kept knowing the name. I kept saying, why do I know this sister's name? Before she even mentioned Beyonce and Destiny's Child, I had to research to find out about J-Lo. I think that we really do ourselves a disservice when we don't wag our own tail, when we do not tell people, hey, I'm doing this, okay? I'm not trying to be egotistical. I'm not narcissistic, none of that. But I want you to know that this is what I'm involved in and this is what I'm accomplishing. I think that that's part of what's missing.
Hey everyone, my name is Michaela Janelle and I'm with the Diva Files. So my question is for all the moderators, and before I get into that, thank you so much for having us on the platform. We are so excited to just honor such wonderful and inspiring women. So with that being said, my question is, with so many male forces dominating corporate America, what has been your why factor that has motivated you to break these stigmas and these glass ceilings while still remaining true to your cause?
I don't really operate from a standpoint of us and them in terms of men. I love Black people, and that's been my motivation, right? And I also love humanity. My mom raised me to love everyone. And so I also do not, as I happen to be a Black female, I can be proud of that and not dislike someone else. Like we're standing on other people's shoulders, and it's our responsibility also to pay it forward. And I also think from a gender standpoint, it's the same thing. Like I'm going to bring up Black young women and young Black men because we're a community. So for me, I just think that I show up in the world doing what I know that I need to do based on my principles and my purpose. And I'm hoping that as a Black woman, I represent as well. And that means something for us, but it's really not against anyone. It's not me against me. It's all of us collective.
Yeah, it's similar for me. Like I haven't throughout my career really operated in a sense of trying to necessarily break down doors. I was just trying to do what I'm passionate about and what I love, which my passions and loves come from the gifts that I was already given. So I often go in having the assumption that I'm supposed to be wherever I'm at, and I'm supposed to be doing whatever work it is that I'm doing. And it's a blessing to be part of those teams, but at the same time, understanding that I was put there for a reason, and not necessarily, and the effect of that is maybe you're breaking down doors. People, you want to always teach someone something. I had mentors, and so that's always been an important thing to me as well. But yeah, like in the moment, I'm not always aware, okay, I'm breaking down a door or something like that. I'm doing work that I'm passionate about, and that speaks truth. And that in essence will eventually break down doors. Like our presence in itself just breaks down the doors.
Absolutely. And I'll add to what both Robin and Jazz has said. What I love about us is that we're not monolithic. There's so many different types of people of color, and all of our stories are varied. And together that fabric kind of weaves all of us as a community of who we are and what we represent and what we want to portray to the world and what we want to teach the young people coming up behind us. So for me, telling those kinds of stories and being a part of that growth and seeing the changes that come, decade to decade, I think that's really what's driven me. in my career to be able to be a part of that.
How are you doing today? My name is Marquita Sharon, music journalist for Concert Daily. How are you? I'm so excited and honored to be here. My question is directed to Miss Hughes, Miss Cathy Hughes. I waited since 2019 of November working at the actual Urban Honors for 2020 when we actually taped. I was in production. I waited to be able to actually see you in person, so I'm glad to have this moment with you. When you think about the slogan, Black Girl Magic, I imagine the defining time in one's life where a decision was made against doubt, fear, uncertainty, or others' opinions. And for the first time, the mind, heart, and inner belief aligned to make a strong choice to activate the talent, skill, and gifts already within that brings to life the magic Black girls embody. So what was your defining Black girl magic moment that led you to become a force to be reckoned with in your field of expertise? And how do you use this inner shift of self-love to be a motivation to all the many divas currently activating their magic?
Oh, a great question. It's going to have to be my last one, because those of you who are in business for yourself knows that when a client calls and says they want to talk to you, you got to go. I think that my Black girl magic moment, first one, I've had many, thank God, but I think my first was when I decided that I was going to initiate a recall of the Washington Post magazine. The Washington Post at that time did not have Black writers, like they had maybe one Black editor. And I took on the Washington Post, which, Richard Nixon took on and lost. Okay, he lost his job, he lost his place in history. I knew it was dangerous, I knew it was very costly, but I saw the results almost immediately after a year-long recall effort. Started off with thousands, dwindled down to hundreds, and then dwindled down to about 40 or 50. And the interesting thing was, I felt at that point that probably we were not going to be successful. But after we had dwindled down to about 40 or 50 each week, we would buy the newspaper, because at that time, there was legislation said that saying, like now, there's legislation saying that if 3 Black folks assemble, it's called a riot and it's illegal in certain states. Well, back then, if in fact you called for a boycott, you could be prosecuted. And so I had to be very careful in my terminology. I called it a recall. So as my numbers were shrinking, I did not realize the impact that I was having on their advertising, because they had gone from some 50, 60 pages in the inaugural, the debut of the magazine, down to 3. And all of a sudden they threw in the towel and did some very significant things at the Washington Post in terms of hiring people. Janet Cook was one of those hires. There's getting ready to be a biopic about the sister who won a Pulitzer Prize with a false story. I'm sure you all may have seen some press on that. But I realized that I had created jobs of power and influence at the Washington Post. At that time, the most important newspaper, not the largest, but the most important daily in the United States. I realized that I had gotten, Kay Graham was still alive at the time, that I had captured her ear and her attention, and that she was really focusing on what we were trying to present to her. That was the first time that I realized that unity can in fact manifest itself in Black girl magic. That was my first aha moment. There might have been some before, but it wasn't as dramatic as that recall effort, because of the danger, because of the uncertainty, but also because of the effectiveness. That was my first, that I really kind of focused in on. Through unity, you can create all types of Black girl magic.
My name is Sam. I'm with Maven26.com. My question is open to anyone. What challenges did you ladies face being women of color in the media industry, and what did you do to overcome them? And that's open to Jasmine, Robin, or Susan.
This is Robin. I feel like you and I are 20s. You see my shirt looks like your shirt?
No, yes, great minds think alike.
Yeah. But anyway, seriously, I don't think that I face challenges. I really don't. And I'm not trying to gloss over that. I mean, I I'm from New York. I worked in the music business. I mean, when I started out, there were a lot of the music, like the Uptown and Def Jam were exploding, and we worked hard and we played hard. I don't really think that I've faced many challenges in my career. And I probably have been looked over for positions that I don't even know about. But I pretty much feel like whatever I set out to do, I was able to get. It helped that I freelance because I was able to move around and I could control my career in a certain way. I mean, there are often, I really cannot think of anything, and I'm at a loss. But that doesn't mean that they weren't there, right? And it probably means that I just kept going forward and I didn't focus on it. I just feel like Jazz says, like I'm very spiritual and I believe in God, and I believe what is yours, whether it's a man or a bag or a house or a car. So I just keep moving in that direction. So I don't really see that I've ever had that situation, but I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
Okay. Yeah, Robin, I can weigh in there. And again, this shows diversity, right? I'm also originally from New York. And as I mentioned, I've been producing for over 20 years. But when I was first coming into this field, I started as an intern and then, PA, and worked my way up. I was oftentimes the only person of color or one of very few in the room creating that content and telling our stories, but trying to, work within somebody else's framework of how they thought it should be revealed. And so that has been something that has stayed with me, and learning from other people of color and having opportunities be given to me from that connection of someone who says, I see something in you and I'm going to help you, get to the next level. I think that the game has changed somewhat. Now you have many more of us out there who have worked our way up, and we're now in positions of power, and we have a voice in the room and a seat at the table. However, what you're also seeing now culturally is that mainstream is now trying to tell our stories as well. So I think we have to hold on to that piece of us, that we have carved out a place and a space to be able to do this work and to share our stories with the world. We have to hold tight to that, and really that will take all of us. And that's, again, helping the next generation coming up, making sure that they also have a seat at the table and they have a voice.
But I just want to add, Susan, not now. They've always tried to tell our stories. I think that
right.
One of the things that's disturbing is we take a pitch from somebody from another culture or another gender. I've sat there and listened to white men tell me about Black women movie shows and not even acknowledge that I was a Black woman. So I feel like that's always been an ongoing thing historically, that our stories have been taken by someone else. I think that we're back in vogue again. Black is the new Black again. Right. And so that's a constant challenge for us to actually make sure that we're controlling the stories. And so when you see people like us behind the scenes, and that's been my case for my whole career, even if there's just one of us, they lift us up. And we bond with each other. So I just wanted to add that, because that's not a new phenomenon.
And I'll just say that if that's been the challenge, like for me, you always feel like, in some sense, it's not that I'm intentionally trying to reach these glass ceilings and whatever, but you always do come up against, as a Black woman in this industry behind the scenes, in particular, you come up across a lot of assumptions, and a lot of kind of overconfident products of white supremacist structures and patriarchy. So, a lot of, I know better. I know how to tell this story better. And look, it's been always, that has been the case. Like, I've always come across that. I continue to come across that, and I've learned how to shut it down, because in a, effective way. So all that to say that, learning to stand in your own strength and stand in your own power and stand in your own voice and say, look, I got here for a reason. My voice is relevant, and you cannot shut down my voice, whether you're speaking to someone else or whether you're speaking directly to me, or whatever the case may be. Oftentimes that has been the frustration, is coming against that, those systems that are in place, products of those systems, who continue to try to downplay what it is you already know, or kind of upplay how they want you to be, your people to be portrayed, basically, and what's safe, what's comfortable for those
Right.
strictures.
I would love to hear Kim Burse answer that question.
It's been some challenges twofold for me. It's just not even just being a woman of color. I walk into a room full of men. It's men crew, it's men band players, it's men directors, lighting directors, and they see this short little light-skinned girl popping in there, and they probably think, "Oh, what is she gonna do?" So sometimes you have to set a precedence and get the respect that you deserve, and then let them know that I'm not here just because somebody thinks I'm cool and they like me. And it's definitely been that type of a challenge. But when you stick to, like Robin said, you know, the knowledge, gaining the knowledge and knowing what you're doing is one thing. But when you walk into the room with that knowledge, knowing how to use it and direct it in the right way, so that everybody learns that this is a team, and working together is how we're going to make the finish line. Not because I'm a short little girl from Roswell, Georgia.
Hello, how y'all feeling?
Finding you?
What's up, man?
Doing good. My question is actually for Ms. Burse. If she's, I know you working. I ain't mean to interrupt you. I already had it set.
No, it's all good. Multitasking is a part of the job.
Well, my question for you is, being a Black woman music director, what was the process like preparing for this event that was, one, not only during a global pandemic, but two, that was set to honor Black women with a company that was founded by a Black woman?
Well, for one, when you've been doing it, dare I say, as long as I have, you have to, I make sure I'm surrounded by the people that I know I don't have to micromanage. So I had to call on some people who, because we did have challenges with COVID, and some drove, some came really early on their own because they had to quarantine. But that's the thing, is that when you have a team that's willing to make sacrifices, that just gives me the assurance of how even that much better I'm going to be able to do the job. And so in preparing, I just made sure that I had the key players I needed surrounding me to make sure that this came off. And also players, I had to draw on the players that I've worked with, some of them that I've worked with before, that understood this style of music. As Ms. Hughes was saying, swing and jazz and like a big band era, like you would need to understand what the difference was between Oscar Peterson and another and George Duke, and a Mary Mary song or Erica Campbell song. You have to be well versed. So I just made sure that across the board, all of my players were very well versed in different styles of music. So that was definitely one of the ways that I had to prepare.
To Sherwin with Gospel Music Buzz, I have a quick question here. Who do we have? Do we still have Susan here? Okay, yes. So a quick question here for Susan. So, the upcoming broadcast is it's honoring impactful women in our society. So who are some of those women that have personally helped charted your trajectory?
That's a great question. Of course, my grandmother, I have to give much respect to. Both of my grandmothers, actually. One I am blessed to still have in my life, and the other one has already been called home. But those two people have been so impactful in my life in creating who I've become as an adult over the years, that I just have to give reverence to them. But also, I would say people who've helped me along the way in my career. Robin Green Arrington is on this call. She's a very strong supporter and mentor for me. And also previously, I've had that experience with other Black women in production. Marilyn Gill is one of the women I would like to call out. She's definitely been again, a mentor for me and a support system. And there's nothing like having somebody who has been in this industry and has really chartered a course for themselves to be able to help educate and sort of pull you along and give you information that will help guide you into the goals that you want to achieve for yourself. And relationship is incredibly important. I think Robin mentioned that earlier, just to be able to have those connections and have access to different opportunities and experiences that you may not necessarily have just cold calling someone out of the blue. But I would definitely say I have been blessed to have several people actually be impactful in my life personally and professionally, to help guide my faith, my courage, my strength, my knowledge, my education, all of it. And I am incredibly grateful for all of those women who've actually been a part of that. Thank you, Robin, specifically. And of course, Miss Hughes, I cannot forget her, just being in her space. You know, there is nothing like learning from the best in the business, and being around Miss Hughes and being able to produce a show like Urban One Honors with her guidance and her vision. It's like a masterclass. And that's something that you always take with you and carry with you to the next project that you move on to. So I appreciate all of them for all of their belief in me and their trust to have, you know, a project like this be guided under our direction.
Thank you all for this amazing opportunity. My name is Dr. Ashley Little with Creating Your Seat at the Table magazine. And so my question is for the whole panel. Where do you see Black women in media in the next 5 years?
Everywhere. I see them everywhere because they're everywhere now. Like, it's amazing. When I started at TV One, there weren't many people doing what I was doing. There weren't many Black female executives that were like EICs, executives in charge of production. And now they're everywhere. It's beyond my imagination that we would be spreading across. I mean, obviously the numbers aren't what they should be, right? I mean, it's still a small drop in the bucket compared to the masses or the mainstream. But when I say that Black women and people are integrating into every facet of every part of this business, it's amazing and encouraging. And I love it because it's paying you forward. And some of them are getting jobs that you couldn't even imagine. There's a Black woman who's the head of a studio right now. There's just all kinds of things. As my LA friends, and Jazz can speak to this, she's in LA, like to say is that if you're in LA and you're a Black woman and you don't have a job, you're doing something wrong because they're coming for us. They want us. And some of that's COVID and some of that's George Floyd, obviously. And so that's a sad thing, but this is a time for us to maximize.
Also, I think like what Ms. Hughes was saying earlier was a lot of it is going to be taking off of what she was saying about creating your own.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and the name of your show actually says it all, is that we're creating our own tables in a sense. So there will be a lot of media platforms within the next 5 years that I feel like Black women will have created, and people will be coming to us in order to be part of that. So I think that we will be at the head of telling our own stories. And one thing I'm really, really encouraged by is throwing it back to Urban One Honors this season and Women Leading the Change is Nicole Hannah-Jones, who of 1619 Project, writer from the New York Times, who we're honoring. She is incredible. She's our investigative journalism honoree. And she has created an organization basically to bring up more people of color in investigative journalism, which we know is so beyond crucial. And so that is also really encouraging, that it's not just in, TV, film and things like that, but in the news world, that we are able to tell our stories. And so that the lens through which our stories get told, whether it's anything that we're doing, but also including the things we're trying to shift right now. When we talk about police brutality or all of the things that are going on in our society right now, we need to have Black people in those roles as investigative journalists. And there are very few of them. And so what Nicole Hannah-Jones has done with creating that organization is really, really meaningful in making sure that that happens and making sure that there's a fair look and a real deep dive into what's really happening in the stories that they tell about us.
This has been really an awesome opportunity, and I want to jump straight to my question. It is for Susan, Kimberly, Robin, and Jazz. In the climate that we have been in, with all the racial tension and the social activism and all the great things that are happening in our country today, a lot of times Black women, from the plantation house, big house, to the White House, we have had to put our finger up to see what the direction of the wind is. Do you believe that this is real change, something that's different? And if so, how have you come to that determination personally?
I say yes, absolutely, is real change. I mean, I think it's always been real change from the civil rights and all the different things that have happened in past generations. I think it's momentum, and I think we have to keep at it, because what happens is we become relaxed. We start to think things are normal. I think we went through a phase where everybody was like, oh, you have a Black president, and not necessarily us. Outsiders were like, or mainstream people were like, you have a Black president, so what else could be wrong? I've sat with friends of mine who are white. They're like, oh, there's a Black, coach for the baseball team. Like, things aren't so bad anymore. And you know that that's superficial. I think that the thing is, and I'm loving this generation, I love these Zs, I love the millennials. They're relentless and they're unapologetic. And I think in a way that I had to grow to be entitled, they started out entitled. And they are like, this is what we're gonna do. I just read something on one of the shows we're doing for George Floyd, that the movement behind him was the largest movement in the history of this country. So that right there is tangible reasons to believe that this is real, and that there's a turning point. I think COVID, people were home, and it was just so, it was visceral, and people saw it, not just us. And people no longer could pretend like something wasn't happening. So yeah, I think it's absolutely the wave. And I also think we have to be courageous, because when light comes, darkness comes. And what's happening to what we're hearing about all the police killings and all the other stuff that are happening, it's gonna be hard to keep the momentum, because people are gonna try to come bring you back down, but it's real, and we're gonna maintain it.
100% agree. This is the change, and the game is up. It's just over. Like, we are in a different mind state, and I think that that's becoming the key, is that we're understanding our own individual liberation is also not. We have evolved to a point that we're like, you know what? The game's over. It's over. Like, this is what we're demanding now. And I spoke to Angela Davis about this actually when I interviewed her for this Urban Honors, and asked her, how is it to see this come around with the conversations that she's been having for decades now, seeing them come back around in a real way like they have. And she was speaking about it being very encouraging, because you see how things are evolving. And as they evolve over the years, we have come to a place where, and I'm not quoting her anymore, I was paraphrasing from her, and now I'm just saying, we have come to a place that we are about self-liberation. I don't think we're asking for permission. I don't think everyone else has to necessarily change. We are changing the way things are going to go down from this point forward. And a number of things have happened, and we just have to, I feel like we're in a place where we have to continue to support each other. We have to continue to do our due diligence, to pay attention, to what's really going on and what's really happening, and not just hear everything that's being said from the other side, because they're trying to put a dagger. The people, I'm saying, when I say they, I'm talking about systems in place that want people who want systems to continue in the way that they've gone for the last 400 years.
Yeah, we're not asking for permission or forgiveness. We are here, and people are going to reckon with us.
Right.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with what everyone has said. We've hit that tipping point. We're changing our response collectively. And I think you can feel that in the air. There's sort of, whenever there is another incident of something that, let's be clear, we're moving in a different direction. We obviously have a long way to go. However, I feel that there are a lot of allies that we have also now, not just recognizing racism, but acknowledging it and calling it out when it needs to be called out. And I definitely think that permeates all kinds of things, from police reform all the way through what you see and access to what you have in terms of media. So I definitely think that we're moving into a better place, and we all have to stick together. We're all in this fight together, but these incremental changes will be bigger steps moving forward. And I think that we're holding people accountable. And at the end of the day, that's the only way we're going to see effective change. We have to hold people accountable.
I do echo what Robin says and Jazz is saying. Absolutely, you know, and I mean, we're here. I mean, you can't deny that anymore. And like you said, the whole situation with George Floyd, because we were, you know, in a pandemic and we were sitting still and we had no choice but to watch, you know, and it rang out, you know, hey, this is real. All of this is real. So what we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And the thing is that now we're showing up, and and now seeing that some of us have been here. They just never really wanted to even recognize it. And so having a platform like this to work on a show like this and work on a show with all of these amazing Black females is just a testament to itself. And that we're having this platform to show, you know, all the great things that we have done, that we are doing, to continue to put forth that change, is that because it's here in our face right now.
I just wanted to thank everybody for joining today. I think we've had a really robust conversation. And again, we're really looking forward to this year's Urban One Honors. If you were here at the top of the call, at the end of the tape that played, the person said, this one is really special. And I have to echo that sentiment. This one really is special. This is a celebration for all of us, but it's definitely our labor of love to lift up the Black women who are doing incredible, amazing things that don't always get recognized, that will impact each and every one of us in our families. So please stay tuned. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining. We appreciate all of your time, everyone, and look forward to doing it again.
Nikki Rich of the Nikki Rich Show. My question is for everybody. I know everyone has their individual roles. So what is the preparation process in putting this show together during the pandemic? Because I know it's not easy. So how has it been?
So it was a challenge, and it started internally with myself and well, actually starts with Ms. H, right? She has a brain storm of what she wants, or an idea of what she wants, and then we take her idea and we flesh it out. And then Susan actually executes on a daily basis on behalf of the network, supervising, if you may, the production. Jazz runs the production, and you know, she's the one who's working for the production company doing all the elements. So I mean, it's an ongoing process. We started this probably, I don't know, help me out, Jeanette. I don't know. I think we started like last spring. We went through a lot, and then things just happened. They fell in place. Kim was a jewel for us. Jazz was a jewel for us. But it's not an easy lift, and COVID really complicated the situation. But we had a production company, Swirl Films, that actually, you know, rose to the occasion. We're humans before we are whatever we are doing in this industry, and so there were protocols that the different unions or just the network and the production company had in place to make it safe. We actually, the executives, did not go to set. We streamed onto set. We visited it virtually. So that was part of our protocol to make sure people were safe. But yeah, it's been quite the journey. I'm sure Jazz, when this is in a can, will probably not talk to us for a while.
I don't have a choice, Robin.
Oh, right, but she's on our show on another channel. That's right. But no, it's been a labor of love, and you know, and it's a lot of moving parts. We're still in edit. There's a lot of people working. There's crews out there shooting, you know, packages. There's the edit team working on the show and different edit teams. So, but COVID's a real factor, and I don't think that anything's gonna ever be the same because of COVID in terms of production and protocols. Jazz, you want to add in?
Yeah, I mean, I think Robin covered it, but basically, hi, by the way, I remember you from Upfronts.
Hi.
Yeah, so it's, it has its challenges, and then it has, we've gotten used to it as well. We have a great team, and obviously the show is a hybrid show. So part of it is live that we shot on stage in Atlanta for the performances. Most of the performances were shot there for the live to tape show. We, called the show there, and then we have the virtual components as well. We have a great editor who's editing the honoree packages, and then we have the rest of the post-production team, editing team over at Swirl, who's editing the rest of the show, and we're constantly doing virtual edit sessions. So the difference would be in production before, we were there, I would probably be in Atlanta. Right now I'm based in LA. Whereas Zoom, we're just on Zooms all day. Corresponding that way, we have Zoom production meetings. It's just everything you can imagine if you were working in an office building, basically. Everything is done remotely. And yeah, so, it can sometimes be challenging, but it's also, we're able to get a great show nevertheless. And we have a really great team. So, and there's also been, yes, a lot of new protocols put in place for production, a lot of new COVID protocols, and, and a lot more COVID testing that you go through, and, but it's really worked out.
So we want to thank everybody for coming out to the Urban One Honors virtual press conference. I've been Ryan Cameron, the moderator for today's event. The third annual Urban One Honors will air on Sunday, May 16th at 9 p.m. It also will be simulcast for the first time on our sister network on Clio TV. But don't forget, it is a double package, because at 8 o'clock on TV One, you will see DMX in his own uncensored, in his own words, unfortunately only 3 weeks before his untimely passing, but it will probably be the best TV you've seen in a long time. So it's a double package for Urban One and for TV One. So please watch, tell your friends, tell your kids, and be a part of history on television, on TV One. Everybody, thank you for your time and for your patience, and thank you to all of our great panelists. We'll talk to you again soon.